All right, folks, on today's video, I'm going to be out here working on an irrigation project. This is going to take me 2 or 3 days to get this done, but this is a new area that we've created out here. It's about 1,700 square feet, and it's going to hold about 7,000 plants, and we've got it a little bit over halfway filled with plants at this point. But with summer coming quickly and the water needs increasing, it seems like every week, we've got to get a better system in place that waters more efficiently and that waters better than watering by hand. So we're going to take our time on today's video. I'm going to walk you through the process that I use to do irrigation. I'm not in any way pretending that this is how the experts do it or how somebody who's licensed and knows all the technical ins and outs. I don't know if this is how they would do it. I just know that it's how I do it, that it's effective and that it works. And it's worked good enough that we've been able to build a nursery up to this point with it, and we want to extend that on out into more growing area so we can grow more and more and more plants for this season and especially though going into next year. So today it's all about irrigation. I want to give you guys an overview of how our water system works here just real quick. I'm standing on the area right now that I'm going to be bringing irrigation to today or for this project, and our water meter is right up there on the top of that bank up there. You'll see this car pass by right here, and it's right beside that white truck right there at my fingertip. It goes down that way, it comes down that bank on the opposite side of the shade houses, right down here to this area, and then it comes right back down to here, and I'll walk over and show you that. So now I've walked over to show you, even now the water line comes right there, and I trenched it right back this way, and it comes down here to this box right here. It's a valve box, and have a water line that goes inside this shade house to provide irrigation inside there. It splits off out there and goes under that shade house, or under that shade covering. You can see the risers here for the sprinklers for those three right there. And then it also splits off here to send another branch to this faucet. So I'll show you where it goes from there. That's the same view from about 15 feet further behind it. The line actually ends right here in this box. And when I originally did this about a year ago, this is where I capped it off right here in this box. So that's where we're starting our project today. I've already done a little bit of the work in that box, but I'm going to get in there and show you exactly what I've done to try to make sense of all of it for you, so maybe it's helpful to you. And I'm going to show you how we get water to all of these plants that we have out here. All right, folks, this is looking down into this valve box. Now, I don't want this to be confusing because there's nothing hard about what I'm showing you here, but you do need to understand what's going on. So coming in from the right side here, this is the main line. This just goes back over towards our previous irrigation and all the way back up towards the road. And you can see this red valve right here is in the off position. So I just had a cap glued on the end here. I cut the cap off, and then I just glued a valve on there, shut the valve off. So now, as we're working on everything out here, no matter how many days it takes or what snags I have or what problems I encounter, our water back this way, as it has always been, is completely fine to work with and use, and it's undisturbed. So everything from right here forward going this way is going to be new irrigation. So just to continue the thought here, I put on this new valve going that direction, and you can see there that it doesn't go anywhere. It just stops in the side of the box there, and eventually I'll cut a hole in that side of the box and we'll extend the irrigation on out that way as we build another shade house out that way eventually. But that's just for another day. But it's easier to go ahead and put it in now while you're working with it instead of trying to come back later and cut a pipe. That's a lot harder than just building it in now as you go. So then we continue this direction. We'll eventually be going out that hole there, out to our new area out there. I put this little valve in here, this T. This is a 1.5 inch T by 3/4 inch T this way. And I put a valve here, and all this will ever be is a drain. So in the winter time, I can drain all of these irrigation lines out that are out this way. I can turn this valve off, open this valve up, and it will just drain all the water out and out this line down into this box. So I'm sure that's not the expert way to make a drain, but it's how I make a drain, and it does work. All right, folks, I just took this piece here. It's about 16 inches long and just glued it into my valve box in there where I just showed you. And now really all there is left to do before we really get into the nuts and bolts of all this is just run the length of pipe out there. So I don't know how far it is. I think it's about 50 or 60 feet. And it's just a matter of gluing these pipe ends together, and that's pretty simple. And all you do is this. All right, guys, we got our 40, whatever, 50 feet of pipe laid right out here, and here coming up out of the ground. We're gonna test our water out here, and I got some mud in the pipe when I was putting it together and stuff, so we're gonna just blow it out. But guys, this is a 1.5 inch water line. We got great water pressure out here. I don't know what it is, so I'm about to turn this on and just see what kind of water flow comes out of this. So check this out. All right, folks, there's our water line coming down this way. Throwing a little dirt on it here and there just to hold it in place while I continue to work on it. I've gotten to this point, now it's going to come out of the ground. And from that point, we'll continue over here. I've put a valve here, and I've gone on out this way onto my ground cover and just glued a 1.5 inch T in all three directions there. That's in, that way, and that way. So we're just going to keep going, running it out from here. And you know, one of the things you want to do when running irrigation line is this is still our main line from the road, and we've branched off of it a number of times now, but you want to keep your line as big as you can, as long as you can. So I don't want to start reducing this down to my branches until I get all the way out here, because you're going to lose a lot of water capacity when you do that. So that's where we are. Now we're going to continue 1.5 inch pipe that way and that way. All right, now we've come up to our T, and I've sent 1.5 that way, 1.5 this way, and out this way is as far as we'll need to go, at least for now. So I've capped off this end, and I put a T right here. This is 1.5 inch this way, and it's 1 inch going that way. So I'm going to send 1 inch pipe all the way out towards that end out there, and our sprinkler risers will come right up off of that. All right, we've got all of our pipe laid now, and remember, this is the 1.5 inch main line coming in. It tees off to 1.5 inches each way, and then I have 3 branches coming off of that that are 1 inch, 1 inch, and 1 inch. Each one of those goes out to 4 sprinkler heads. We'll get 4 sprinkler heads coming off of each one of those for a total of 12 sprinkler heads out here. Now, I am not sure how many sprinkler heads, given my water volume, water pressure, I'm not sure how many sprinkler heads this 1.5 inch line can feed all at once. I don't think it's 12. So we're going to start it out with probably 10, and we're going to get those put together, and I'll show you that. But we're going to leave the system kind of loose and not fasten it down tightly, so we can go back and insert some valves if we need to, so we can kind of cut it down to size, so if it can feed 4 or 8, or we don't really know. But anyway, just to kind of let you know what we're doing, the next thing we're going to do is go in and put our pipes coming up for our risers, where they'll rise up out of those T's that you can see running down the lines. So our sprinkler heads will be about 3.5 feet high where they spray from. Now this is the first T. This is a 1 inch line, and I've reduced it to 3/4 going up. Remember, don't reduce until you have to. Keep your pipe as big as you can, as long as you can when you're running irrigation. But what I'm going to do on this one is glue this riser in here. That's what I'm calling this, is a riser, guys. I don't know what it's really called. I don't care. I'm not an irrigation specialist. I just know that this is how I like to do this, and that it works just fine. So I'm going to just glue this in here, just like I've been gluing all of my joints, all of my fittings. And I have chosen to stick this valve in here on this one right here. And the reason I've stuck this in here, a couple of reasons. These first two right here are going to have these valves in them, at least. I may do more, but right now in the beginning, as I'm setting this up, we don't have plants out here on this entire end of this, so there's no reason for this to be spraying water all over the place and just wasting water. So that's one thing I can do to help control how much of this is running all at once. So, you know, making good use of valves is important. So I'm just going to put this in the off position and it can just stay there. I have no intention to use this anytime, you know, at least in the next few weeks. So this is just going to stay off, and the next one will be that way too. And we'll work on kind of being as efficient as we can with this, and you know, we'll wind up packing our plants in a little bit tighter. They won't be spread out here. We don't need big aisles to walk up and down with a hose anymore. So we're going to whittle this down as much as we can, but at the same time allow for expansion out here, and these valves will allow us to do that. All right, now we've got all of our risers in here and here, and on the third row over there, just on the other side of the low tunnel. They all get kind of floppy and out of whack. You can see that's not much of a straight line, and that's okay. But when we go put our T-post in to support everything, we'll get them to stand up nice and straight and stiff so they won't be flopping out here. So the next step is to put the T-post in the ground and get them fastened to those, and we'll be ready to move on getting our irrigation finished. All right, folks, so the way that we get our pipe here, our riser pipes here that our sprinkler heads will be attached to, the way that we get them to stay stable in that upright position is with these T-posts. Now, look, this is overkill, and this is, you know, what you use to build a fence with, keep cattle in or whatever, but it's what we happen to have here on hand, so we're using it. You could take, you know, a 3/4 stick of rebar and hammer it in the ground. You could make something with a little concrete base with a concrete block or something like that to hold it up. Just whatever you have. You just need this to be relatively stable so the wind won't blow it over, so water pressure won't blow it over, and it'll just stay in a permanent vertical position. So this is what we have, so this is what we're using, and we have a gas-powered T-post driver that we drive these in the ground because it's really hard to do without it. I don't have a front end loader bucket on a tractor to push them down with, and I don't want to drive them one by one into this hard ground with one of those drivers. So we use a gas powered driver. You use what you have. This is how we do it. All right, you good?
Yep.
Hold it. There we go.
Okay.
All right, you like it?
Yes. Turned out okay.
That's all right. It's a little off, and that won't be exactly vertical.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And you want to drive your post or whatever you're using just down below the top of it so you have room to slip your sprinkler head on top. So that's good enough for us, and we'll move on to the next one. So we got all of our T-posts driven here, and all 12 of them all around. And now we just fasten the pipe, our risers, to the T-post, and we just do that using these simple zip ties, cable ties, whatever you call them. Put it on there and pull them tight, and at least the way that I do it is I put one maybe halfway up, and then I put another one up near the top, and it really helps cut down on vibration when they're running. These things will vibrate like crazy just with the water pressure and the spinning action of the sprinkler head. So it doesn't take long at all. Just clip them on there, and then we need to do all of these, and then after that we will fasten our sprinkler heads to the top, and this system's going to be ready to test out. So looking forward to getting to that. All right, we've got all of our risers fastened with the zip ties to the post. The next step here is we're going to take these adapters, and this is just a 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch adapter, and we're going to glue these onto the top of all 12 of these. So we'll make quick work out of this, but guys, I've showed you how to glue these, and so that's what we're going to do, is just glue them on, and that's the next step. All right, next step, we've glued all of these on, all 12. We've come back to this same point again, and these are our sprinkler heads, and you can see they're just threaded here, and we'll just twist them right on here. It's not absolutely necessary that you tape these, but I like to tape them just so they won't leak. You know, these are not under pressure, so, you know, them leaking is not really a huge deal. But You know, if you do it, they're just going to run down. Water's just going to run down the post while the sprinklers are running, and that's it. But all you do is just put a couple of rounds of tape on there. If it leaks a little, that's fine. And then you just twist that down on there, basically until it gets either really tight or until it stops. And that's gotten really tight, and that will be just fine. And now we're going to do that same song and dance again to all 12 of the rest of the heads. All right, after multiple days of working on this, we finally got this all set up, and we have not tested it yet. We're going to show you guys what the test looks like, and I feel about 50-50 on whether or not there's going to be enough water volume to spray all of these. We've got 12 sprinkler heads out here. We have 2 of them in the off position, so because there's no plants under them. So we're going to see if this is enough water to push and run 10 sprinkler heads at one time. So I kind of think it will, I kind of think it won't. We can go in and add some valves after this if it doesn't work, but we wanted to show you, for better or worse, exactly how this turns out. All right, I'm gonna go turn it on. Y'all give me a countdown and we're gonna see if this thing works. All right, here goes. 3, 2, 1. It's on. All right, guys, we're super pumped. It worked for all of it, and there's lots and lots and lots of water spraying out of there. Way more than I thought there might be, so we are super happy about this. Oh, yeah. You ready? Tell me what to do.
It's making a rainbow.
All right, so this sprinkler head right here, it looks like it's struggling just a little bit, so in a minute when we turn it off, I'm going to take that head off of there. It's probably got a piece of mud or a piece of junk or glue or something in it. And then we'll just see if we can get it going good, but otherwise everything is absolutely perfect. All right, there's a piece of what's probably mulch about 6 to 10 inches down in this pipe, and we're gonna see if we can just take the sprinkler head off and turn the water on and blow it out. We'll see what happens. All right, it's gone. And we are all finished, and from the time that we started this actual video until now, we've actually expanded this area out here. It's about 2,500 square feet now, room for almost 10,000 plants, and now we're going to be able to irrigate all of these with no worries and without spending so much time every day dragging a hose around, knocking plants down, and just doing all the time and work associated with it that's really a pain. So I could not be any happier with how this has turned out. So guys, thank y'all so much for being with us today. Thank y'all for watching. I love y'all, and we'll see you on the next one.